streaming? Is it? Also, y'all say some words. I think maybe the desktop audio needs to be adjusted.
I am
Words.
currently
I
saying
am
words.
trying to
Y'all
I'm
say
say
like,
some
some
words
words.
now.
I think
man.
maybe the
I'm
All right.
gonna say
desktop
some
audio
words,
needs to be adjusted.
and no one's gonna stop me.
I am
Words.
Cool.
testing.
All right, I
Testing.
think we're all good. All right.
Test these. Test these.
It's an
1, 2.
it's an awesome thing that I haven't figured, like I haven't done like the professional thing and like actually figured out all the leveling shit before this. It's great that the beginning of every one of these streams is nonsense. I'm sure the audience wants to hear that. Anyway, I'll get professional someday. Um, anyway, um, whew, it's been a long week. And I would have done this yesterday, but my plan sort of got pushed forward due to an emergency rescue of an animal. So I'll briefly,
It's always acceptable.
yeah, I'll briefly touch on that. I had a friend visiting from Texas, and we're gonna go shooting tomorrow. I've been showing him some of the areas around here, and like there's a lot of stuff that we've been taking care of and doing. It's been fun, hashtag social life, hashtag normal human stuff, and like
Normal human stuff.
yeah, right.
The
And
fuck is
so
that?
like I've been sort of like zoned out anyway, but then like the thing that happened here was like voices in my head that I listen to because they're oftentimes right told me that I needed to stop at the fruit stand that we passed along the way. And so I like said we should do that on the way back to my friend. And so we did that on the way back. On the way into town, kind of, I guess. And the voices told me I would get surprisingly cheap fruit if I did that. So I didn't know what they fucking meant, but I went there, and the first thing they asked us when we got there was, "Do you know anything about porcupines?" And I said a bit because authentically I do know a bit, but absolutely nothing compared to like what I might need to know. And I was wondering why they were fucking asking me that, but apparently there had been a porcupine that had taken up residence next to one of their coolers. And so basically, this porcupine was costing them business. Obviously, a lot of people probably don't want to spend a whole lot of time near a fucking porcupine. So basically, I sort of just tried to keep it calm and coasted out of the thing. And with some like help from friends, like bungee corded and duct taped a sort of box around it.
Dude, this works.
Yeah, and
Everybody-
and so like we took the porcupine out. Well, I did. Basically nobody wanted to get their hands close to this thing, but like I don't give a shit because I don't care. I've been poked before. It doesn't matter. If it did it, it did it. And I sort of pet its tail to see how okay it would be with my contact, like before I did any of this. It was not okay with my contact. It sort of swung its tail at me. I was like, okay, all right, we'll find a different way. So we moved it out into a box and took it to a local hedge, and it fucked off. So that worked out, and I got some free fruit out of the
Nice.
arrangement from this fruit stand, which explains why the voices in my head were telling me it would be surprisingly cheap. So that sounds sufficiently insane for the start of this stream. But hello to those of you who are new. I'm the resident Schizo Hedgehog. We are going to talk about paleo strategy yet again. This is part 2 of part 1, because I guess we're segmenting shit like this because, like, hashtag schizo problems. We're doing, like, all this, like, segmented, like, 1.5.8.7, like, build numbers on Linux or some shit. Either way, we'll get there. We're going to do the same segments that we went over last week. We're going to go over some LNC stuff because obviously we're here for that, so we might as well. And we'll also be starting in on the next parts of the segments next week. And so all of this should be relatively good conversation. A few more people were invited that didn't end up showing up. So we'll see if that ends up being a thing. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, it does. And you gotta love statements like that. It's like, it is what it is. Well, I'm glad that you said that because I didn't know that before. It was what it wasn't before you said that. Thank you. So
That's right up there with insights like A equals A from objectivism.
oh
I
yeah,
love that.
The best way to say it is that they don't think it be like it is, but it
but
do.
it do.
I love that you have run out of "it is what it is." Please try again. It has an error message. It's just like
Yeah.
what the. It be. I like that. It be like that, or they don't think it be like that, but
Yeah,
it do.
Yeah.
But it do.
But it
So,
do.
let's start with introductions. We've got some new face. Well, we've got a new face on the channel. Kevin, throw your words. Who be you?
Well, my name is Kevin. I am a 32-year-old mutualist from Maine. I started my political journey when I was 11, briefly as a Marxist. Then I got into right libertarianism at 14. And then I rounded back around to left anarchism at 24. After I got out of college and experienced what capitalism had to offer. Got into this chat because I befriended Kareem. I think we were trolling people together, I don't remember. Kareem, do you remember?
Yeah, I was posting stuff, and then that guy got really mad.
Oh yeah,
he's a nice guy, but the dude from Cuba, and he's like, no, it's this, and all I said was,
all right, I'm gonna just segue right now. Bitcoin is both a currency and a commodity. It's just not replace fiat currency from the state. Like, it's got its uses. It's not a bad thing. Like, I'm not against Bitcoin. It's just not going to replace the dollar. I see it as a tool. I see Bitcoin as a tool. So, like, if you're like traumatized, and you're trying to get psychedelic medicine, for example, like LSD or whatever, it can be useful, you know? Like, the problem, let's put it this way. I'm like mildly pro Bitcoin, but I feel like many of the arguments against Bitcoin that I've heard from the left can be technology, and that's why I take the position on Bitcoin I do. You see what I mean?
no, I understand what you mean. It is a commodity and a currency. The issue is, I think,
and the guy didn't understand. He was mad at me. He's like, you said it was a currency, and then you said it was. I said, no, it's a commodity that behaves like a currency. You know, like that doesn't necessarily mean like it can be both things. It's primarily a commodity. It behaves like a currency, but it's not going to replace the dollar or fiat currency. People just use it to do transactions outside of the state capital complex over the internet, which traditionally
you also have a degree in econ, so that's the problem. Is people are like, Kevin doesn't know this. I'm like, dude, he has a degree in economics.
The problem with it that makes it not, and we'll get into it after this, but the problem with it that makes it not a currency is that it's not it doesn't have a current value maintained by some sort of institution, and it also like it hinges its value in the markets to like, you know, fiat currency anyway. So it's like, oh yeah, we're such a competitor to fiat currency that if people want to know how much they're getting paid, they're like, how much is that worth in dollars? So they're really just like, how many dollars am I going to get paid?
All right. Without saying names, because I'm about to drop some pretty heavy shit here, I had a friend in college who paid his tuition by dealing drugs using Silk Road and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a tool, and he had a rule: no heroin, no coke, no meth too. So he just did psychedelics. He did psychedelics, and he made enough. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he did PCP or if he sold it or not. I just knew that he had some rules against some of the harder drugs he did, which I don't think he would have done PCP because that's fucked up. But my point is that it's a tool he used to help people out with getting drugs that aren't harmful around the black market, and he made enough money on it to literally pay his tuition.
Yeah, I just
so
had
like,
to
it was
I only ever used tobacco leaves.
What's up?
I said personally, I only ever use fine dried tobacco leaves from the great state of Virginia. But anyway,
what I was trying to say to that dude, and he didn't get it because he was so emotionally obsessed with his hatred of anything left because he's from Cuba and something Gusano, something Castro, blah blah blah. That he wasn't getting my message, but Kareem saw it. Kareem was my witness. Thank you.
Yeah, here's the evils of what I would call, you can call it Marxist, Leninist, or state capitalism,
we got real quick.
or authoritarian communism. Not a fan of those. What people commonly refer to as tankies, and that's all garbage. Along with space IOs, along with the garbage that came out of Weimar. the German National Socialists. So people tend to associate anything left or communism with authoritarian communism. What I've been trying to do here, and even with even me and prominent figure in the Libertarian Party who I do like, who's very good on, he's the best on foreign policy. That can probably give you who it is. We had an actual shouting match because I said the kids on the campuses, the Vietnam War was ended, in my opinion, because people on campuses were yelling and putting their grievances out, and that put pressure. Now, his thing was block the elected officials, which I don't disagree with. But then he said, everybody on campus now, on these campuses, is a Marxist. I said, everyone. So they're all, like, he said, well, they're young, they're leftist, and they're Marxist. You don't know that. You don't know every professor. You don't know what they're
literally doing. Most college students are center-left social democrats.
Correct. I don't think they're Marxist. I don't think they've read the Communist Manifesto.
There is a spectrum of political views.
So do we have the rest of the introductions?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. It's just we got super derailed.
So what?
I'll be right back.
Let's use that as a jump off point to introductions, and also just to like iterate in people's minds, the closed-minded out there, possibly their minds might need to be like shifted to the point where they're not cucked on this subject. So just impress upon your mind. The fact that we are saying this does not mean that we're all some Maoist, fucking, Stalin-y, Trotskyite. We're not that just because we don't like the paleo strategy. So uncunt yourself before watching this stream. That's my message to somebody out there who's cunted too much. We'll move on to Lizard, then Reinhold. Introductions. Sorry, real quick. Kevin, real quick. Kevin, you are very loud in something. Kevin? Alright, cool. Yeah, you dealt with it, Kareem, I guess. Lizard, sorry. Sorry, audience.
I'm Lizard. I'm an egoist ANCOM. I enact as much as I can in my life. I will say, for sake of the stream and viewership, I do have an impacted wisdom tooth that is severely affecting me right now. So you might see me applying medicine to my mouth throughout the stream. I am in pain.
If anyone doesn't like somebody taking care of their health, while also saying base shit, they can go fuck themselves. Reinhold.
Yeah.
You are muted. We can see your mouth moving, and words are not coming out of it.
That's what happens when you triple mute and don't get on the mic check. So yeah, I'm with the Libertarian movement for over 30 years, and am having a ball watching the complete shit show that is the convention going on right now.
Yeah. And by the way, you still got to get us some sax in one of these episodes. You can play sax. Yeah.
I can't play sax.
Bigfoot.
Hey guys, I'm Bigfoot. I'm your friendly local anarchist cryptid. I live in the woods and I hate the state. And as for this particular stream and anybody who may claim that I'm some sort of, authoritarian commie because I don't approve of the fucking paleo strategy, my response is this. You really need to stop thinking about politics with a last 200 years mindset, because humans have been humaning for a lot longer than the United States or the paleo concept or any of this dumb bullshit has existed. And honestly, it's only the fact that people lose sight of the larger historical liberty movement that they get stuck in these little political tactical tactics that lead to this subversion. Anyway, that's me.
I would like to say real quick that the paleo philosophy was only created within the last 70 years, so it is a relatively new philosophy.
Yeah,
from what I know.
Gotta love, and it's fucking hilarious that they, call these things like paleo because they're going back to an older form of conservatism, and then they call it the paleo libertarian strategy after PaleoCon because they were saying, but we can appeal to the paleocons as long as we're also libertarians and saying it from that perspective, and that should sound familiar because the same kind of cunt is cunting up the LNC right now. So, congratulations, it worked. It didn't, but Dead Boy.
Yeah, like even though I do consider, well, I mean, like I guess for a while I consider myself an anarcho or market anarchist. Either of those are fine with me. I tend to primarily, one of the main topics. There've been 3 topics I'd probably say make my blood boil when it comes to talk about liberty, and it's mainly talking about the state's role in public school systems, city planning, and even dietary things. Never mind the Federal Reserve in general, because it's just terrible.
Yeah.
But the main reason I'm against the paleo strategy is because I see bad mental shortcuts being made, where they conflate anything that doesn't like anything that sounds even slightly left coded is bad without actually looking into what's being said, whether or not it's liberatory, whether or not it's a pro-freedom stance, while going and deciding that the right is even alliance they're worth having a full-time alliance with because it's all about quote-unquote beating the left.
What?
But beating the left, quote-unquote. And I'm thinking that,
You know,
and basically to me, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
it's looking really, really bad on the stream end. I'm not sure why. I'm gonna check out the stream and make sure this is even like working at all. That'd be fucked if it wasn't. People are just sitting here watching nothing for a
Yeah.
bit.
What do you think the problem is?
I have no.
Do you want me to use my StreamYard?
Well, we
Mostly like 2 frames.
we might move to your thing if that's a thing, but like I don't know. Let me check and see if this is looking better on my phone than it is on the fucking YouTube preview.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
It's looking really, really bad on the stream end. I'm not sure why. Yeah, okay. So the audio is smooth, but the video is so fucking low frame rate, and I don't know why.
Yeah, Jeremy, your frame rate is bad. Reynolds and nice to meet you. Wait, so just a quick question, and I might have just missed this because I was up getting some stuff. Are any of you Lizard Jesus from the Pan Anarchy chat?
Yes.
Or is he not here tonight?
He's-
Oh, Dead Boy, that's you.
No.
Yeah, I'm here
Oh,
too.
well,
No,
nice
I'm
to
not-
meet you.
I'm here.
Lizard
No,
is
he's
I love your
live.
takes in that chat.
PID.FCD and a bunch of numbers.
all right. It looks like it's stabilized. All right, that's weird. I have no idea why it did that. Maybe stabilized. It keeps telling me that YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, which is odd because I'm doing exactly the kind of video that I've done before that has streamed relatively smoothly. Like maybe it's just like buffering a lot. I don't know. Like yeah, it's frustrating. Sometimes
Your call. So
Sorry, what?
your audio is choppy over the call too. It's like somewhat robotic and then missing out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if your connect is having an issue tonight.
That's a possibility. If
State trying to.
it is, I might have to call this one because like I don't want this to be shit quality. We'll see. Let me check the current live. Yeah, you can't even click the live button and have it reliably stick to live. That's insane.
Wow.
Do we just try again tomorrow?
Okay, let me ask, does tomorrow work for y'all at around the same time?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll try again tomorrow. I have no idea what the fuck this is. Okay. All right. Well, I apologize, y'all. I guess we're calling it for now. Because like
All right.
I mean, they don't think it be like it is.
because it's relatively smooth at this point.
Because of course it is.
Like right after we have these
It'll be
conversations.
smooth right until you start talking about meaty stuff.
Well,
And then
okay.
the second that we get
Well, so
into a
how
good
is-
topic, it'll be like shit.
Jeremiah, how's your streaming setup set up? Like, what's the
I
where's that?
I stream with OBS a Skype conversation. And the reason I do that is so
Okay.
that the images are large enough and not little postage stamps. It looks like it may have smoothed out, maybe. But, oh no, okay. Alright, yeah, just, maybe.
Well, what kind of, so
Go?
if it's choppy frame rate, it could be a connection issue. Like, how's your connection otherwise?
It's wireless. And it's wireless because I live with multiple people and my streaming setup is all the way across the house from the router.
Okay.
But, like, you know, it's worked
Well, that can
fine
be part of
in
it.
the past.
Yeah, I figured.
We'll see. You know, it
Well,
seems
so
to
are we calling it tonight?
It seems to maybe have stabilized at this point. I think we might be good. Apologies to any viewer who had to see this part of it, but all right. Let's I guess we'll move on to actual Kareem, introduce. So actually, were you saying you were saying Dead Boy? I think we were doing Dead Boy's intro. So we'll do that and then Kareem.
I was.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like I've been on this stream a couple of times. Of course, my primary interest has been in urban planning as well as like the economic things like inflation, public school system. Those issues are going to be issues that I specialize in when my first essays start getting uploaded, or no, when I first start writing them. But then, but yes, like when it comes to this paleo strategy and this having a full-time libertarian right-wing alliance. My main frustration, and even some of it, I want to say probably even comes from my time dealing with Yao, is that in like a lot of libertarians get sold on that, like this deal between libertarians and conservatives is going to be with conservatives that actually agree with things like, free markets and all of those things that they preach when they're on Fox News, the principles they claim to have. But I think what often gets missed is they haven't been that party in a long time, if ever. They have not been that party in a long time. And then on top of that, it's a one-sided alliance because the majority of the time, it's basically, instead of it being a situation where I'm guessing both of them work to build each other up, it's libertarians silencing their voices to help the GOP. So it's a very one-sided deal.
Right.
And that's one of the frustrating things that even whenever you look at like when, like Rothbard and Rothbard were trying this, is that they thought they could push the neo-libs and the neocons out of the Republican Party, and they didn't.
Nope. So
it didn't work because, you can't push them out.
Yeah, and it's because like so much of the funding and organizational structure is tied in with that shit. Kareem.
Yeah.
We'll get into this more as well, because that's a key point.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, I am Kareem from Anarch Unity. I'm a PA delegate right now, or I was today. And also, I'm part of the Mises Caucus and Anarch Unity. I'm a pan-anarchist. People say I like pans, or whatever that is. But basically, my thing is I want to see how all forms of anarchy can interact. What's interesting about being a pan-anarchist is Jeremiah is basically, agrees with that as well. Then we have Lizard Jesus, who's an ego calm. We have, Kevin here, who's a mutualist, and then other folks, just anarchy without adjectives, but it's growing, and we're getting these ideas together and these people to cooperate. Be cool if ANCAP Air jumps on, then we'll have the full spectrum of anarchy. Also met an anarcho-pacifist today, so it is definitely possible that all schools can work together, in my opinion, to tear down the state and to tear down bad ideologies like fascism, authoritarian communism, and Zios and all that stuff. What's interesting is I was at the Trump speech yesterday and booing him, and so, but everything he said he wants to do, fight communism, Marxism, fight fascism, fight all that, said, who does that really well? Left-wing anarchists, left-wing leftists. So actually, as far as I'm concerned, we're the ones saving the world. So let's go.
So I'll start off with a couple things. First off, everyone on this channel knows I'm the fucking asshole who's always blackpilling people about shit. every school of anarchy has flaws and things to praise. And I try to hit all of that on a routine enough basis that we can like actually get some, positive, movement in a direction of freedom. And I think personally that one of the like best starting points is recognizing those flaws and recognizing that the flaws are, similar between people. That the flaws are like, something that we can all sort of vibe with. We are all fucked up. None of us are perfect. None of us. And like, I'm extremely fucked up. Like, I've got severe problems in a variety of ways. I'm not trying to say by any of my criticisms tonight or any other time that I'm perfect. But there are some fucking strategies that do not work. And the paleo strategy, to me, is being re-implemented now. And there are some people in libertarian circles who are trying to do the same kind of shit that Rothbard and Rockwell and shit did with, like, Pat Buchanan with Trump. Like, Angela McArdle sent out this jack-off email where she celebrated, like, getting reelected. But she also celebrated getting Trump to agree to pardon Ross Ulbricht if he gets elected. So it's basically like, elect Trump. He'll pardon that one guy you like, That's what the email is saying. And maybe he will, but he's also a massive fucking lying piece of murderous shit.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah.
Here's the
Kiss
thing,
the
too,
king's
about
ring
that
and
real
he'll let
quick
your
is that-
delegates
Yeah,
go.
and I like Angela, but like the issue is Trump, literally that speech was pandering. I did all this, I did great. And then he also said something you guys did not see, which is, or you can get three. He
Yeah,
removed-
I heard about that.
I posted
So I
about
want to
that
give
on
some.
Twitter.
He had Lars Mapstead all of his signs removed for one thing. There was major
Yeah.
security to get in, and he said, "All you guys get is 3%. Why don't you work with me, and then I'll help you win?" And the funny thing to me is, why would you beg if all we get is 3%? Why are you begging for our 3%?
Yeah.
Classic sales tactic.
Yeah, it's
Valuing the
a sales
person he's trying to
tactic.
sell to, so that
So the
person
He
wants
literally
to consume
came in there and
product.
negged the Libertarian Party.
Yes, and we booed the shit out of him. and
Literally, he
the
was
reason he
digging the
did this-
Libertarian Party.
Yeah, there was more booze than anything else, even though people tried to give him credit. And one thing I'll say is I've just finished Robert Cialdini's books. I can see these tactics. He's a grifter. He's a liar. He's trying to pander. So people say, and he said, I'll put libertarians in my administration. I highly doubt it. And then he
Also,
referenced.
Let's look at the fucking culture he's like fermenting too. Like I want to reference a situation that happened to a person named Our where
Yes.
they were flying a sign in protest that said no wannabe dictators, and like they were fucking like thrown off of their chair and like their sign was taken away and shit. And I just like, why would you want that kind of culture in a libertarian party where like freedom of speech is supposed to be like one of the cornerstones,
Does anybody else realize that the
This
Trump
is a mis-
family fortune was built entirely on statism?
Mm.
It really is.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So the father of Trump's dad built his fortune because he got housing contracts because of the New Deal in the 1930s. Now, whether you think the New Deal or not was a good or bad idea is irrelevant to the claim that the Trump family fortune, I won't say Drumpf because I'm not a cringe vote blue no matter who liberal, but the Trump family fortune was built entirely on statism. So a guy whose entire life can be partially thanks to statism, going to a bunch of anti-statists and pandering to them, is super transparent. We all see through it. I'm done with my rant.
Yeah, well, and the other half of it. So, okay, so he said that. Look, okay, they booed him. They made noise. They made noise. But you know what you didn't get, because Angela is a lying cunt? You didn't get an actual debate. You didn't get libertarians pressing him on the issues. You didn't get anybody looking at any of these things on a critical like actual panel level. You didn't get any crossfire. You got an unfiltered, uninterrupted Trump speech. And the only thing you got in terms of any pushback was people going, boo! Who gives a fucking shit? You made a noise.
No. We drowned them out with "End the Fed." I did say I was sitting. Now here's the thing. I was sitting next to the foreign policy expert of the Libertarian Party. I like him, but he said I don't like chanting. It's a communist strategy. I said no, it's not. And then I was sitting next to him, and I was just like, free Palestine. Occupation is a crime. And I also said, F your medical procedure that he likes. I also said a bunch of other stuff, defund, it's not real, and all that fun stuff. And there was a ton of booing. Yeah, he's a total grifter. As far as I'm concerned, even Joe Biden is a little bit better, because Joe Biden's honestly saying he's pretending not to, and he will. So that's why I asked the question about accelerationism. I don't, and the problem is, I probably hate both of them equally, but I don't see anything redeeming about anything that he could have said or done. The one thing I can say is that's interesting is that his supporters were looking at libertarians for what to do. If you've ever played Resident Evil 4, there's a parasite called the Los Plagas, and they call them ganados. It's basically what the Democrats and Republicans are. They're walking Los Plagas hosts. You just can't, you hit them hard enough, and the Los Plagas doesn't come out, but like their stupid tribalness comes out, and you gotta like. So that's how I see the majority. Unfortunately, the majority of Americans are walking Las Plagas.
Dennis?
The thing with Trump is the reason why he reached out and initiated this, right, is because he lost in 2020 by just enough that he believes that the Libertarians running a candidate is what cost him the election.
Mm-hmm.
So he had his people reach out to Angela and say, we want to come and speak at your convention to try and win over your delegates or your voters or whatever. And so she said, this is cool. We can make a big deal out of this, right? And so she made a big thing about it and says, oh, and I'm inviting Joe Biden too, which of course then she said, I don't know how to get a hold of him.
What a shame.
Kind of a crap thing anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he's not going to pardon or release Ross Ulbricht, because in the first year of his first administration, he said he would look into it and decide whether he was going to release him or not. He spent 4 years and never did it, but he sure did release a bunch of his criminal cronies, right? So he has no interest in doing that. He's not going to do it, and he's not going to put a libertarian in his cabinet because they've got Project 2025 in place that everybody who's going to be in the executive branch is going to have to sign a fealty to him over the Constitution, and no libertarian would do that.
Right.
So there's not going to be anybody with any kind of, oh, we're going to give him our opinion and he's going to be there to hear it. No, that's not the whole. The whole point is he doesn't want that. He wants yes men in there just doing whatever he says.
Right.
So that's
as always.
That's all just people believing Narnia is somewhere around the corner if they just make this deal with Trump.
Yeah.
He's a known liar. He's one of the most documented liars that exist, and he got to start through statism and through the mob.
Yeah.
Don't forget that part of it as well.
And of course, there's
correct. I mean,
him and Roy Cohn and everything else. He worked with the mob to get his whole thing going back in the 80s and stuff. So he has no interest whatsoever in following any kind of individual rights or any kind of libertarian thought. It's all pipe dream.
Yeah. And of course, like with all of that, like, they're gonna get, like, I'm so sure they're gonna get like libertarians in his cabinet after, anarchist leaning libertarians after he demonized them at every conceivable turn, after he said that, and I'm so sure that he's going to be like, the hyper libertarian president, after he was the guy who said, like, take the guns first, due process later. You know, I'm so short. So we'll go to Dead Boy, then Bigfoot, then back to you, Dennis.
Oh, what I was gonna say is that I still always laugh when I hear this cope from like the GOP people of, oh, if it wasn't for libertarians and insert election here, then we would have won. And it's like, for one, that's not the W excuse, the excuse you think it is.
Yeah.
You're basically admitting that if there weren't better options, you would get votes.
Yeah.
Basically saying the problem is that people have an option that they're more interested in. Secondly, when you spend I'm going to talk in the GOP generally. You remember right before the midterms, all of Conservative Inc., Vivek, Ben Shapiro, Dennis Prager, Steven Crowder, and all of those types had just put out all videos attacking libertarians and blaming them for stuff. Then all of a sudden start trying to call themselves Cordis at Porkfest and stuff. It was one of the funniest things ever, and it's like, why would we support y'all when y'all throw us under the bus for your failures every time?
Good question.
And on top of that, that showed they had, I don't know, principles, integrity, stood for something, didn't sell out their base at every turn, even on issues like gun rights, maybe they'd have support. They'd never take the blame for why they fail, ever.
Exactly. Bigfoot.
Oh, I was just going to ask if we were ready to talk about the paleo strategy yet or not.
Yeah, we will. We will. And see, the thing is, that's the reason I think that this is relevant.
I just have limited time. That's all.
Yeah. Well, so I'll hit point one the points relatively soon, because the way I organized it last time is I sort of read the points and I prefaced it by saying some of these things are actually pretty great. We will agree on them. Like no matter who here is what team. But the basic gist I think I wanted to start with was that this is being reemployed, but now the paleo guy is Trump. And that's even more laughable than the last time because he's way less paleo than Pat Buchanan. So, yeah, we'll start with point one that that I'm sure we'll all agree on. So the right-wing populist program in this same article where he was like, praising David Duke and shit, this right-wing populist program then must concentrate on dismantling the crucial existing areas of state and elite rule and on liberating the average American from the most flagrant and oppressive features of that rule. In short, 1, this is something we'll all agree to, slash taxes. All taxes, sales, business, property, etc., but especially the most oppressive politically and personally, the income tax. We must work toward repeal of the income tax and the abolition of the IRS. Pretty sure that we can all at least, agree to that in principle. So,
yes.
Yeah.
In principle.
Yeah. So we can move on to the next one. So we'll move on to slash welfare. And this is where it starts to get real fucking dicey. And I'll let people respond to this. We'll elaborate the fuck out of this for this next piece because holy shit, does it get dark fast. It gets dark fast. So, slash welfare, get rid of the underclass rule by abolishing the welfare system, or short of abolition, severely cutting and restricting it. Underclass guys. Let's talk about, he said that we are ruled by the underclass. Oh yeah,
That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So let me play devil's advocate, if you guys will allow me to. I don't agree with it. I do not agree with it, and I see where the train got derailed. So the issue is that you gotta think about this in the context of the man saying it. He spent his entire life effectively as an anarchist, constantly trying to push anarchist ideals in a society that only wanted minarchism, if that, on the people who were actually, familiar with him and stuff like that. And so, he spends all of his youth basically feeling like this futile effort of constantly pushing against this, a uniparty state that will constantly destroy any attempts at gaining more liberty or freedom. And he comes to equate the concept of tyranny with the concept of big business, or sorry, not big business, big government in general. And basically what that does is it can see anything that benefits from the state as a party to the state. But the difference, and I think the crucial difference that you missed in this context, is that, say, for instance, someone like Amazon, right? They benefit from the state through state subsidy and stuff. They are legitimate targets of state or of aggression against the state because they actively benefit from the state directly in a mutual relationship in order to suppress the other people. He has targeted the welfare recipients because he misidentifies them receiving support from the state as some sort of control over the state, but all it is a good breakfast for the slaves. Mm-hmm. You can't say the slaves are party to the plantation because they get fed every morning before they're whipped. Like, it's not the same fucking thing, but it's only his absolute disillusionment towards any sort of actual positive change that led him down this insane position.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out two things that kind of tie in. So the first thing is that I know a lot of people here in my home state of Maine who are on welfare, who want to be libertarians and are libertarians and are partially libertarians because of how ridiculous they find the welfare system. So there is that, first off. And broadening that point from what I just said more broadly than a specific example, I think that the Libertarian Party's absolute insistence on being wed to right-wing macroeconomics, which is a part of the Paleo strategy, is losing us millennials and Gen Z who've been screwed over by certain trends in the changes of capitalism and such. So, like, you're pretty much preaching to the choir to me on saying fuck you to the Paleo strategy. But I just wanted to give that specific angle, both the personal experience of knowing multiple people in Maine on welfare who want to be libertarians, who want to be a part of the movement, who would prefer that we transition to community-based support for them, et cetera. And then also secondarily that the Libertarian Party is losing two generations of voters because it insists on being, excuse me here, boomers and wedding themselves to outdated macroeconomics.
Lizard. And then we'll go to Reinhold.
I'll say from an anarchist perspective that like believes in the free market and stuff. If the free market is successful enough, and people are able to thrive in whatever economy they choose or whatever they see fit for them, really there isn't much need for a centralized welfare system because people can just like go from economy to economy in order to prosper. So I don't think that abolishing the welfare system like immediately is a good step, though. I think that's very destructive and just does nothing but attacks like people who are struggling economically right now.
Yeah,
under this fucking centralized government fiat that we're forced to use.
And I'll say something before Reinhold, and then we'll move back to Bigfoot temporarily, because I'm sure you got something to say on that. Like, that's one of the things is like, it's a hostility to actually solving the problems that the state created. Like, you can bitch to me about the state all you want. You can, for instance, cry about, like, the imperialism or whatever, right? But if you won't acknowledge that in the same way, somebody who had their house busted up by the cops deserves compensation from the cops, that somebody who had their house busted up by the military-industrial complex overseas might, not be a terrible person for coming over here, seeking work, and throwing some money back homie's way, then go fuck yourself. Like, if you're not going to understand that those are parallels, if you're not going to understand that, like, these things are things that we should be compassionate about, then don't call yourself a libertarian, because you're only using the government fucked me up as an excuse, and you don't give a shit about whether or not the government fucks anybody else over. Dennis.
Yeah, the whole thing about the welfare and the focusing on the welfare is unfortunate in the fact that there are a lot of people who there are basically two types of people in this camp. One is we should get rid of welfare because the welfare system sucks. It's not really helping anybody. It is also taking money from me and making me give it to someone else without any sort of input from me on whether or not that's the right way to spend it or to give it to those people, etc. Then there are the other people who just say they don't give a crap about the poor and fuck them. It's their own fault for being the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
So you have those two people are joined together because of this. Get rid of the welfare. You can't get rid of the welfare that's out there right now until you have things in place to take over for those in need who need it. Right. So government is trying to solve a problem. The problem still exists, whether we say government shouldn't be the ones providing, fixing the problem, because the government shouldn't be the one fixing the problem. We should be fixing the problem. And until libertarians realize that the only way that they're going to convince people to move away from the welfare system is by providing them something that works better before they do that, then they're never going to get the support on this.
Right.
Right. So what you end up with are just people who are anti-welfare because they don't care about it. It's the cruelty is the point to them.
Yeah.
Whereas the people who are well-meaning and trying to do it the right way are getting the assistance and the help they need to actually make the resolution be put in place so that they can actually do that when it happens.
I got something to say on that. I actually said once in a debate with a right libertarian on this, I said, until you abolish every penny of corporate welfare and excessive defense spending, I don't give a single fuck about welfare spending. So do that first, then we can talk about welfare spending. But until you abolish every penny of excess defense and corporate welfare for rich people in the market, I am not going to worry one iota about some mom getting food stamps. And if you worry about it, then your focus on liberty is not strategic. It's just petty.
Yeah.
And you're getting the people who you find out don't really want to help the people. They want to keep the money themselves. That's their problem with welfare is they don't want to help those people.
Right.
They feel like, they would have more money in their pocket and they would be fine. And that's all they care about. So those people get lumped in as well.
Pivoting off of that, I feel like two things I would say is one, a pithy little soundbite that you can give to people who are anti-welfare for the selfish reasons is something that I heard somebody say to me one time, which was, oh, well, we can't cancel or we can't move forward with liberty. Or no, we can't have welfare until we get rid of selfish people. My response to that is we can't get rid of welfare until we've gotten rid of selfish people. Because if you, as an anti-welfare advocate, are not willing to today adopt someone off the street, then you have no right to tell anybody what aid they should be allowed to receive. That's basically my opinion on it. If you're not gonna accept the homeless into your house, don't take away their food stamps.
Yeah,
it's just that simple.
Like, and I'm gonna go dead boy then Kareem on this subject because they've said little so yet far. But before that, just here's an example. Okay, roads. If you're a libertarian, anarchy, who would build the roads? Blah blah. Potholes, great example. Everybody hates potholes. Nobody. I love you, pothole. Nobody said that ever. So, let's just start off with potholes. Domino's a bit back did this fucking base shit where they would fill potholes, and they would pay for the potholes to get filled professionally, and then they would emboss their logo on the pothole that they did that, and it basically meant that you could drive over a completely finished road that was not going to crumble and buckle under you and become eroded gradually because Domino's did that. Anyone could do that. And if you're not out there doing that, then don't ask who would build the roads, because you're not building the roads. You're not working on anything. Or if you're not helping contract people out. If you wouldn't do it voluntarily, then don't externalize your lack of participation in the system on other people and then claim it's a critique of libertarians when you, being in support of the state, won't even fucking do it yourself. It's lazy, it's projecting, it's fucking straw man bullshit. And I fucking loathe that shit. It's some of the worst shit ever. Dead boy.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hey, guys, I'll be right back. I got to leave for 10 minutes. I'll be right back.
Not a problem.
All right, cool. Oh, but what I was going to also say is that one of the things that I think would be very useful in this conversation that I don't think it's talked about enough in, I hesitate to call them mainstream, but mainstream libertarian circles, is when bringing up things like welfare, they should also, one of the things that's very useful And it's one of the things that actually kind of also sold me on libertarian ideals as well, was when I read David Beto's book, From Mutual Aid to the Welfare State, where it covered all the way from, I think it was like the 1690s to the 1960s of, voluntary aid, and how during the Roaring 20s even, 2/3 of Americans were on that aid. And for this, they were providing a lot of the same services, if not better, whether it was stipends of, for people who miss sick days, just like life insurance in general. Any of these types of things to help people with whatever struggle came up was coming through these mutual aid societies. I mean, we have them now, but they're not like the way that they were back then, right? And then a lot of them, thanks to the regulatory state and basically state intervention, some of them being jealous doctors who didn't like the competition with the contract doctors, some of the more established mutual aid firms wanted to stifle competition. They ran to the AMA, they ran to these alphabet agencies to stifle competition, and more regulatory burdens got made until these fraternities found it useless to keep providing aid and just became third-party insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I think people should point out when talking about what would be a better alternative or what we could replace the state welfare system with. And then the other, and I know this is going to be a repeating theme with me, so apologize in advance, the destruction of the city. I've talked about this a bunch of times, but urban renewal, turning cities into sprawling locations in which I won't say forces, but in effect forces people to have to pay for the most expensive mode of transportation to get around. And then on top of that, not having access to amenities close by anymore, even though that was the way cities were built for thousands of years. So if we can contextualize those things, whether it's getting rid of zoning, getting rid of land use restrictions, which, by the way, some of those zoning codes even allow people to be locked up for providing aid to the homeless voluntarily without a permit. Talking about that stuff would probably be a lot more useful than just going, oh, burn welfare queens, or whatever the hell they say, right? Some of the more
if you're against welfare, I know I'm interrupting, I'm sorry, but if you're against welfare, the best thing you can do is go out and feed poor people yourself. And if you are in an area where they will penalize you legally for it, carry a fucking rifle. There's been so many. I read it in Texas once. There was this Christian group that got arrested for trying to feed the homeless. So they showed back up at the park where they were feeding homeless with a bunch of rifles, and no one touched them. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, or even this place in I think it was in LA, where super liberal LA, right? Where they were providing these solar powered tiny houses to homeless people.
Yes.
And the state, through the force of OSHA, kept shutting it down. And then until they later just agreed, because it made them look bad, they agreed and said, okay, but it has to be in that park. You can only have it in that park. After after 3 years of being made to look like assholes because they kept doing that. It's we can point that stuff out, as well as the fact that, yes, even though the way that I look at it is this when it comes to welfare in general, I'm not going to get mad at the people who receive it, because at least they're getting some of the money back that the government takes from us every year. But I am mad at the politicians for giving it out simply because they're using it as a way to buy loyalty.
Or just force fealty.
The way that I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, Kareem.
So it's
sorry. Did you have something to? Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, I was just gonna break some.
What?
No, I want to.
I want to expand on what you were saying earlier about the roads argument a little bit, because a lot of times when the roads, when the state or the city is looking to build a road or build a major causeway or something like that, anything like that, a lot of times they contract out private contracting companies.
Yeah.
To do it, so they really do act.
Can I hear anything?
An unnecessary middleman in the market.
I can't hear you guys at all. Damn it.
They act like an unnecessary middleman in the market, and it's really nothing but a barricade to people's ability to not only make money but do better for their community. Because these companies are constantly fucking stifled with regulations that just It just hurts their productivity. Honestly, it's very frustrating.
Kareem.
All right. So, what is my thoughts on the paleo strategy and the road? So, let's break this down. First of all, I think Rothbard was an overall good thinker, but here's the issue: he had too many caveats and where his thought, drifted. So, I like early Rothbard when he wanted to work more with the left side, and obviously, I think that's still a viable option. I think left Rothbardianism is a good idea. Paired with communalism, paired with basic ethics, I think that's almost going to lead to a great system.
There we go.
Mutual aid.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so to break that down, why I think this, early Rothbard the strategy works. The paleo strategy doesn't work because simply these people aren't interested in liberty. In my opinion, what they're interested in is security or building a security state. Also, as far as the roads, Larry Sharp had a good idea. It's very similar to what you guys mentioned, is you have a company, or you have company in quotes. Mm-hmm. You have a group of individuals running something in a free market, and then they say, hey, the roads are breaking down here. So you name that road after that, whatever it is that group has established. We want to call it a company. For the sake of argument, we call it a company. Then they see it deteriorate. So Verizon will have the incentive to help that road. There's also the story about the Domino's workers who saw that, hey, if there's potholes in the road, we're going to fix them.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a thing that people have to worry about. I hate to say it, but like Walter Block before he became like a ridiculous, space, just statist. Probably always was one, but Walter Block before he went insane.
Let's be clear. Everybody's got flaws. Everybody's got perks. Let's just say Walter Block has both. We all have both.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Okay. So Walter Block had an idea for the roads that was pretty good. And you can privatize roads. There's also the ability to have the community fix them. We all get together and say, hey, the roads are bad. So there's no need for a central institution to, in my opinion, fix civil infrastructure. And when they do it half-ass.
Yeah.
The DMV here, I don't know about your guys' state, but the DMV here takes forever. It doesn't get fixed, and it's done cheaply, and the roads are still in bad shape. So honestly, abolish the DMV, allow the community and the private market to fix the roads.
Yeah, and like that okay, so just a personal anecdote here. My family, and then like Reinhold can tell us who LP nominated, just as a brief aside. My family, my grandmother used to do this shit in order to like stay fit. And the shit she used to do was called Adopt the Highway. And what you would do is you would like put your name on a sign, and California would say this highway is yours. And like not yours, but like, and you could advertise your business, you could whatever. And how it would work is you would pick up trash. You would just make sure that that section of highway looked good. And my grandma would go out there and pick up trash. She had her picker, she had her high-vis vest, and she would go out there and pick up trash every fucking day. And my grandmother, occasionally with a group, but sometimes all by her lonesome, was maintaining a road in a way that is super fucking simple. And like this same thing could be done for maintenance of lack of weeds. The same shit could be done for filling potholes. The same shit could be done for making sure that the road stays reflective so people don't fucking off it at night. Like, options. And my grandmother did that shit for free because it gave her something to do in her old age. Like, so I know not only for a fact that people work on roads for free, but like that they will do it because it's something to do. And it's not just that, like you could use it to promote your business. It's a free billboard, basically. You just go out there and you pick up trash. Or you can like fill a pothole and spuck your business logo onto it. There's options. And so many people want to, and this is just one thing, like, right? Like, I want to see the Costco orphanage, you know? I want to see, like, when you can go out there and these people are actually giving enough of a shit that they're, you know, at least you're using an opportunity to, like, get your business name in front of people while also sponsoring something great. You know, help the poor because you want to and because it helps you, not because some gun is to your head. And if people did this
Jeremy?
more of the time, like, and that's the thing.
Yes.
That's the thing I wanted to bring up. Well, and then I'll let Kevin speak because he's chomping at the bit here. But like,
Yeah, it is
just
Chase.
just let me be super clear that like, but like after Dennis announces the nominee, I think it's Chase then if that's the case. But so
It's Oliver.
basically
Yeah.
the thing that I'll say is Walter Block's model is being tested every day in California. You can just go adopt a highway, and you could do that for anything. You could just adopt a thing, and you could just so anybody who says this doesn't work, I already know it works. My family made it work. Fuck you, Kevin.
Jeremy, I just want to say I agree with you structurally. I love your sentiment. The Costco orphanage does sound a little bit like something out of Idiocracy.
Oh, it does.
I just wanted to say that.
I was,
and that's it.
I was being a cunt.
Welcome
That's
to Costco. We love you.
Yes, we love you, babies.
Costco orphanage. Do you want one orphan for $10,
Yes.
or will you take like
You just get a
12 for
you just get a
100?
pallet of you just get a pallet of
Go away, baiting.
yeah. But like, so I was saying that to be a cunt, but like anybody could do that. You could do that. Anybody could. And so like you just you adopt that chunk of highway and you make sure that your chunk of highway is a shining example of why people should give a fuck and support you. It works. It already works. It already works. It already works anyway. Let's move to Dead Boy because actually civil infrastructure and things like that is something that he probably wants to say a lot of words on.
There,
Sorry, actually, Dennis.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
quick
Dennis.
well, I just want to say that, okay, so Chase did win the nomination, but there's a little bit more to it than that, and it kind of touches on this a little bit.
Cool.
There were 300 no-to votes. During the voting, they have the mic set up in the back so people can come up and do points of procedures and stuff like that.
Was it
Those
hot?
mics were live. It was a hot mic, and there were some delegates who were saying that they would never vote for Chase Oliver because he's gay.
Oh,
What?
fucking
And
piece of shit.
There was another conversation. Oh, this is live over the feed now, so now C-SPAN caught it and everything else. There was also another couple people who were discussing and debating on whether or not penis-sized stereotypes of Asian and black men were valid and earned.
Are you serious?
I will literally fight you like over that shit.
Oh
Now,
man.
the real question
So,
is this a
I'm
false
a
flag or
weeb,
an actual?
so
This is
like,
just what the paleo
yeah.
strategy brings into the movement.
Yeah.
Oh man. Talk
Man.
about high level, high IQ conversation, right?
Man, oh man. Oh man. So he's the nominee? He beat Reckham?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fucking hilarious.
Chase got it.
That's okay. Well, color me surprised because I thought they were gonna muscle that cock through the hole. Okay. Well,
Nice choice of words there.
anyway. Well,
The
hey.
thing was, there's some whole politics behind all that. I don't know if you want to get into it, but
We will.
yeah,
We
that's
will actually.
that's how it ended up. There were
The next stream we do, like, we'll put a hiatus on the paleo strategy, or we'll do 2 streams next week in order to make sure we talk something. Next stream we do will be next, like either sometime in the middle of the week if it works for y'all, or it'll be the next week, and we'll do a post-mortem on the link. Also, by the way, for anybody who's curious about my fucking eye color, because I have some questions in my Discord sometimes, this is what happens when you shine a light on them. They become blue. So that should tell you everything about the fucking weird shit that I was talking about. Anyway, so go.
Yeah.
Let's talk then, because we got, I think, to the 3rd plank last time, and I think that it's like, you know, it's valid. once we're talking about this, how it's already kind of bad, let's talk about 3, because 3 is really shit-assed. In context to the other shit, in context with their David Duke dick sucking, like, fucking 3, abolish racial or group privileges, abolish affirmative action, set aside racial quotas, etc., and point out that the root of such quotas is the entire civil rights structure, which tramples on the property rights of every American. So, let me just let that sink in for a moment, and then bring it to the attention of all of the stupid pieces of evil fucking shit out there that wanted these delegates to be canceled, that wanted all this corruption to work, that wanted all this shit to happen, right? When you're doing that, when you're accepting this as the strategy, when that's the way you are accepting the Mises Caucus platform that they emailed out, where they said that LGBT, like trans people, are a part of a cultural Marxist social revolution, and like should not be encouraged or whatever. And the Mises Caucus is officially said that the Libertarian Party is anti-trans now. This is the same kind of language that you got from this plank, talking about abolishing racial privileges, and it's civil rights is just a way to trample on property rights. Go fuck yourself. Eat shit, bitch. Anyway, that's my take. I'm gonna stop poisoning the well here, and y'all can say words. We'll start with Bigfoot.
All right. So, again, let me just say, I unequivocally do not agree with this point. But let me give you some context as to why he may be feeling this way. So, does anybody remember Jim Jones?
Yes.
Vaguely, yes.
Yes, actually, funny story about Jim Jones before you continue. He was Heaven's Gate, right? Jim Jones, or was he a different
No,
cult?
No.
That was actually before Heaven's Gate. This was the first one.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Kool-Aid Man.
I'll mention
This
this at
was
the end of the
actually
stream
the
'cause it's
communist
funny.
guy.
Yeah.
So Jim
He's from
Jones
Indiana, I know
was
him well.
Jim Jones was a literal sociopath who had no true beliefs and only said whatever he could say to get the downtrodden on his side, so that he could then convince them to commit suicide and do all sorts of other heinous shit for his own personal pleasure. And the thing about Jim Jones is that being a major popular figure in the 70s and 80s, hell, he got fucking congratulated by Jimmy Carter one time because he was very, very, very publicly anti-racist. He had what he called his rainbow family. He had 9 children. Only one of those children were his own biological children, and the rest of them were purposefully adopted in order to show off his rainbow family persona, effectively. And all of his children that survived the mass unaliving down in South America basically say as much as like, yeah, no, he didn't believe in any of this. But this was all happening right around the same time that Rothbard was trying to push his paleo strategy. And I feel like it has a lot to do with what a lot of people identify with modern trends, right? So I call it like current day brainism, but effectively it's like, oh man, the current political paradigm is the only paradigm that matters for my cause, even if that paradigm is a microcosm of what the actual problem is. So for Rothbard's perspective, he sees people like Jim Jones taking the race issue and turning it into an issue of gaining control over people, and he automatically paints the entire race side of the argument with that same paintbrush that Jim Jones deserved. And that basically causes him to believe that anybody pushing those sorts of ideas are the kind of people who would subvert and use those people for their own gains. Yeah. And it's like the Republican, or not the, Jesus, sorry, that was such a Freudian slip. The Libertarian Party today, the Libertarian Party today is doing the exact same thing and getting the exact same results. They see bad actors on the left and they ascribe every left-minded individual with bad actor motivations, thus alienating all of the support they could possibly get from the left and guaranteeing their burial under the boot of the right. Yeah, it's such a stupid fucking move, and we've done it so many fucking times by now.
Yeah, Jim Jones was the guy behind it. Heaven's Gate wasn't that. Heaven's Gate was like more people, like, and they were trying to go on a fucking spaceship.
No, this one was the biggest.
Yeah. Wait, what?
This one was the biggest. It was 900 people. Yeah, 900 people in South America. It was the largest mass unaliving in American history.
Okay. Well,
they had the People's Community in South America, and it was supposed to be based on Christian socialism, but what it was based on was Jim Jones's personal sycophancy.
Yeah, you mean
and
the
so
People's
he
Temple?
used any language he could. Yeah, the People's Temple, that shit.
I was.
But he was friends with that guy who did Heaven's Gate or whatever.
Yeah, it's one big club. Yeah, if you ever hear people talk about Jonestown, I think also that that's where drinking the Kool-Aid came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And like this,
I just recently used to think about this, which is why it came up.
He had to fuck off to like South America.
It was a different brand.
Yep.
It was a different brand than Kool-Aid.
Oh no, it was actually crazy. So if you look into the stories about it, so the majority of Jonestown was African American. Like they had a ton of color in their community, and he would routinely, on a daily basis, go out and give hours-long sermons about how America was dragging every single person who wasn't white out of their house and executing them today, every day. Because, mind you, this was back when the internet didn't exist, and these people lived in South America now. They had no fucking clue what was going on, and so all he did was preach fear to them and prepare them for the inevitable suicide whenever the feds try to come and take us. So,
yeah,
it's just another political grifter.
Yeah, but yeah, but that's the thing though. So he puts civil rights in quotes, and to me, I can see where you're coming from, but, and this is the last blank we went over last week, and we got a shit ton more to talk about when we reconvene, and probably more people are gonna be interested because we got we got plenty of people who went to the last one who are currently at the convention. And Kareem is one of the people who is at the convention, but he decided to join us from his hotel. So, to be very specific, when I think about this line, I understand that there is a reasonable motivation for some of this thought, but it's only reasonable to take it to its conclusion if you're also either evil, insane, or stupid. And Rothbard was not stupid. He was not insane, so he was being evil. And in the case of what he was supporting, he was supporting an alliance with some of the worst figures in terms of conservatism of the time. People who wanted to work with racial segregationists, people who wanted to work with, etc., etc. And then you have the parallel these days of the libertarian movement on the more right-leaning end of it, for years building them up as the party of, you don't have to bake the damn cake. And so obviously this sort of mentality, this sort of culture is going to lend itself very nicely to they're pushing trans on kids and they're mutilating baby genitals and whatever fear-mongering cocksucking nonsense he wants to fucking. And so that's where we get that from. That's where we get the modern iteration of the paleo strategy from, is this mentality. And to me, while I understand that there is a reasonable foundation of that, there are grifters and hucksters and people trying to take advantage and etc., etc. I can understand that. But at the same time, it has to be understood that does not excuse jack fucking shit. And when it comes down to it, you're not saying it does. I'm not trying to straw man you. I'm not trying to imply that you're saying that any of this, but you clearly said you were being devil's advocate. I'm not, hey, this is fuck Bigfoot hour. I understand completely where you're coming from. What I'm trying to say.
Oh no, let me say unequivocally, fuck Rothbard on his position here. I completely disagree with him, and I think he's such a fucking idiot for conflating leftism and government for government who happens to be left. It's such a stupid fucking mistake. Yeah. So continue.
I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's evil. I think it's gamesmanship playing divide and conquer, ordo ab chaos, problem reaction solution bullshit. It's we are going to like highlight and or create problems and have a pre-manufactured solution, fuck the left, and then we will wait for the reaction to come to place where we can enact our solution. It's ordo ab chaos. It's we will look at the most chaotic examples of the kinds of things that we're talking about and pretend that those represent the whole so that we can strawman the civil rights movement in that day, and say that, oh, this is what happens when the blacks blah blah blah, like David Duke did, and it's the same corollary to today. This is what happens when the transes, they're gonna trans your kids. Mike Rechtenwald says that on a basis, and it's the same sort of like gamesmanship nonsense. And I don't think he's stupid. I don't think he made a mistake. I think he did something on purpose.
I think, okay. Because I've talked to Michael Rechtenwald, I have a nuanced perspective on Michael Rechtenwald. Same with Rose, is that he has the opinion that some of this is coming from what he would call institutional, like Marxism or something like that. In my opinion, they're just people who feel honestly like they're marginalized. The state is coming after them, which is true. And that's the reason I would probably disagree with some of that messaging. Here's the issue. I don't think Rechtenwald is anti-trans. I don't think he hates trans people. I don't think he's a fascist. I think he is somebody who actually does genuinely care about liberty. He's changed his mind a lot of times, going from authoritarian communism to ANCOM. He did say he has some ANCOM friends, to like MAGA, to libertarian. So a lot of change there in a very short period of time. But overall, I still, get along with him now. Chase won the thing, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I'll say some words
So I have a
after
couple
Dennis
things.
does.
First of all, one of the things that's in here that I see a lot of libertarians getting crazy on is they believe in, they're against group rights, right? Right. We're individuals, and there shouldn't be anything such as group rights. And what they're failing to understand is that what we're talking about in those a lot of those situations are individuals who are having their rights violated because of the membership of the group that they've been assigned to, that they don't have any choice in, right? This isn't group rights. This is rights that are being, because of the group membership.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. I kind of wanted to get into something more down to like the current situation that's going on right now, and get a question maybe from Dream about some MC.
Well, how about this? I'm actually
thought
debating. Rose and Bryce are voting on the floor. I had a delegate. I have a crazy story. I was hiking with Luke Kowski today, and I didn't tell them when I'd be back, so they changed my delegate thing. So I was voting yesterday. I'm not voting today. Maybe I might have been given something that I didn't take yet, but I was like, okay, I'll let it completely out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, give the button to someone else, because if I'm like in a fourth dimension, it doesn't help if I have to do replicate physical actions in the third dimension. I actually think I want to take the laptop down to the floor.
Okay.
If you guys would be cool with that.
Go for it.
Be cool with that?
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
as long as the signal's still good.
Kind of my question. Right. My question too is, I was just kind of trying to understand the thought process behind the 300 NOTA votes, knowing that if NOTA were to win, we would have no candidate. Why that was a preferable option than having Chase win.
Good.
Wait, Jeremy, are you telling me that you're expecting the Libertarian Party to be functional adults?
Nah.
It's just precious. I mean that with a ton of respect, sir.
Hey man,
I think your perspective is awesome.
I'm not
I just think the
gonna lie.
Libertarian
I have
Party is
made the
committed
joke
to
that
being as
libertarians
dysfunctional
should
as
have
possible.
their own daycare to
All right, I'm done.
pass their own things so it doesn't affect everybody else.
I'm a functional adult. I just went around and scream at people and say, fuck.
So
Can we elect
No, like I said, I was
printout
just kind
of
of
a middle
curious.
finger? For the Libertarian
I was
president
just kind of
candidate,
curious.
or the Libertarian president candidate.
Yeah.
Just a picture of a middle finger.
Yeah. So, just okay. Here's the thing, though. When Michael Rechtenwald, or his social media team, I don't give him that cop out because I don't think that matters. I think what matters is that this is public and under his name. But so I'm just gonna say Michael Rechtenwald, even if it's his social media team, that wouldn't matter to me. Like when he talks about this, literally he lied about it. He said that the last 4 mass shootings have been trans people. That has literally never been true. When Secretary Blinken, who I don't like Andy Blinken, he fucking sucks, and he was really bad during regimes and shit like that. Fucking, when he fucking tweeted against homophobia, biphobia, interphobia, and transphobia, he fucking, Michael Rechtenwald responded to that saying, "Why are you trying to turn America trans? You can't turn anybody trans. That doesn't work." But saying that and taking that stance, that supporting a stance against phobia is turning America trans? Fuck no, it's not. That's not how any of this works. So when it comes down to it, he's willing to say that. He's willing to pretend that there's some sort of conspiracy to turn America trans. And he does trans rights don't exist, only human rights exist. And he also says that money was used to create a large proportion of the trans community, which means that he is saying that they did not exist and that they now do exist because of the medical procedures that were done on them. It's not that they were trans, it's that they are trans now because they have been turned trans. He doesn't believe that people are naturally trans. And when you get down to the brass tacks,
Despite trans being around for hundreds of years.
yeah. And when you get down to the actual examples, he starts to say things that imply that he doesn't even believe that trans people exist. It becomes very obvious because he starts saying medical freedom for trans people doesn't exist. It's a state coercing money out of people. And fucking, he says in 5 years or less, there will be a lot of people looking back on the horrors of amputated body parts and mutilations. What the fuck? All for what could have been soon accomplished by AI-generated avatars. And he's laughing at them. After all, robots are already trans. He's always anti-trans. His tweets are never pro-trans. He sides with Ollie London, saying that being trans is an act of violence. He says that trans people have not been around for 1,000 years. It's a back formation, a presentist projection into the past of current beliefs. And in all of this, he said he does the much children thing, saying that they're making children subject to puberty blockers and having their penises and breasts cut off before they reach the age of consent. I have fought
every single one of these perspectives on Fash Twitter.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And so, and all of these things, he specifically and consistently says that they don't even exist. He invalidates them at every turn. So if he doesn't disrespect trans people, if he does think that they exist, if he isn't being the way I say he's being, which I don't even think Kareem can hear me right now, because I think the elevator cut. Okay, well, so if he doesn't believe that, he's doing a shit tier job of describing an alternate belief. If he was trying to pretend like he was believing that, he wouldn't have to do anything different. So, Bigfoot, you got your hand raised.
I gotta figure out how to mute myself. I got 4 things to say, and then I'll have to unfortunately leave due to work issues.
Yeah, we'll be booking soon.
First thing is, I'll say, as someone who has unequivocally and literally met what the shitty side of the aisle consider trans trenders, I obviously accept the validity of trans people and can see past people who just jump on any social trend and can actually see the benefit of, trans people in general, and like, people living the way that they naturally want to live and stuff. And personally, I'm a gender abolitionist. I don't believe that gender should exist in the first place, and that it's something put onto us by society, and people generally just naturally just express themselves the way they would without these labels, and have for thousands of years. But that's all beside the point. Secondly, I want to say that the paleo strategy fucking sucks, and I will be happy to talk about it more the next time we talk about it. But that Rothbard, whenever I call him stupid, I'm not saying that he didn't know what he was doing. I'm saying he thought that this was necessary because he was too stupid to realize what he had going on was the right direction, and he was too much of a pussy to follow it to the end. Just like John Adams, he could suck my dick. My third point. Shit! I forgot my last 2 points. Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure. I was happy to be here, and I hope you all have a good night.
Yeah, we'll be
I gotta get going.
We'll be booking soon. Be well. Thank you for showing up.
No problem.
I want to touch on that. Here he's back.
The rectum wall stuff, right?
I want to say hi to my friend.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say something about the gender, thing. So
What's up? What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
Doing a stream over here. Just got done with a day with some friends of mine out there in the Spokane area.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys, if it's a little loud.
It's not.
We don't mind.
hey, let's see if we get Michael Heisen.
Yeah, right? Anyway, what were you going to say, Dennis?
Also, the whole gender thing is that I don't really. Gender is a social construct to begin with. I mean, a lot of people have a problem separating gender from sex, and that's a big problem because you have all these people who, for years, have been beating up on kids and bullying kids because they're not man enough or they're not woman or not feminine enough, right? So, based off of what they believe their, actions and behaviors should be, which has nothing to do with what's between their legs. So that's where this all coming from. I thought we were on a great path to say, let's just get rid of the whole concept of genders where you have to act a certain way in order to fit within whatever society says your gender should be. You should just be who you are, individualism. That was the whole concept. I think part of the problem is that a lot of the people in the trans space have almost reinforced that idea of gender, that in order for them to behave a certain way, they have to identify as that gender in order to do that. I think that's a problem.
It is.
But the reason they have gone down that path is because of the people who are always telling them that they can't live the way they want to live because they say that their gender should be this way and that's how they should be acting, right? You're too effeminate or you're too masculine based off of whatever gender they
You don't hashtag pass.
So that's, I think, where this all comes from, and this whole idea of mutilating.
Oh, one last thing. Leighton is a pussy.
Yep.
This whole thing too.
That was like the best thing ever.
The mutilation of people. A vast majority of the people who are trans do not have any surgeries. They don't have any people.
They do a social transition.
They don't do any of that stuff. That's usually stuff going through sexual transitions, which sexual transitions have been going on for 50 years at least, and this whole idea of, the first trans clinic, I think, was in Germany pre-Hitler, right? And Hitler put a stop to that real quick because fascism. And that's what's happening in here. And the other thing too is like, oh, there's so many more trans people now than there were before. And it's like, no, it's just like when there were so many more gay people when we first started accepting that people were gay and they could come out of the closet and admit that they are. We're seeing the same thing. Those people were always that. You just would never let them be that.
It's a trope
right?
now
so
for a reason, but
okay
left-handed people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a frustrating thing because so many people are hung up on bad definitions, talking over each other, not even realizing talking about two different things, and then having this whole the outrageousness of it, and it's a frustrating conversation to try and have with people, because most of the times they're wanting to talk about something that's not even germane to what the actual conversation should be. And it's all basically most people are trans because You made them that way because you told them they couldn't be the way that they were when they weren't trans.
And Kareem, I don't know if you're trying to say something, but your picture is frozen.
Okay, if Kareem doesn't unfree. Oh, Kareem's unfrozen.
Hello, Bryce.
Hello.
Not actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
Try toggling your camera, Kareem.
Yeah.
I just want to point out one thing. Has anybody ever noticed that the trans freak out is always about male to female, but rarely about female to male? It's almost as if what they're communicating is that if you're a dude and you want to become a chick, which I know is like not the right nomenclature, but I'm kind of drunk right now, forgive me. You're like downgrading. But if you're a chick and you want to become a dude, no one cares.
Well,
has anybody even picked up on that?
See, and so,
well, and the other thing too is about we don't want men inside women's locker rooms, so they should whatever sex you're assigned at birth should be what locker room you go into. Have you ever seen, like, I think his name's Buck Wild, right? So one of the
Buck Angel,
the Buck Angel, right? That guy's a big buff dude. You don't want him in with your. I mean, you're not thinking it through when you say that stuff.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I realized I was on mute. You're preaching to the choir on this.
Yeah.
I housed a trans woman for like 8 months because her family didn't care about her.
Yeah.
So like I gave her a place to stay for a bit.
Right.
So like you're preaching to the choir here.
Well,
like I'm totally on board with you. I'm just pointing out that it always feels like when a chick or when a dude wants to become a chick, male to female transgender, they view that as a downgrade. But like if a chick wants to become a dude, female to male transgender, no one cares.
It was the same thing with gay, because it's like it's okay if two girls are gay. That's fine. It's cute. It's fun. We like watching that porn. But two guys, it's horrible. We can't have that. That's just wrong. So that's part of the problem too, because people are like, there's so many bi women out there now. Yeah, because we've let them be, because society has said that that's okay. It's the bi men that we can't allow. We can't have that. Oh no, that's horrible.
See,
icky.
See, but like there is the other half of it, and I do want to push back there a little bit, because I've heard so many whiny fucking fascists and conservatives say about a mastectomy, you're amputating perfectly healthy tissue, and that happens so many times and is so common that literally any mastectomy is considered amputating perfectly healthy tissue, to the point where there have been multiple times where a breast cancer survivor has been mercilessly trashed on social media by a bunch of fascist fucks who didn't like the fact that she removed perfectly healthy tissue that was not in fact perfectly healthy, you psychopaths.
But and how many of those people are also anti-circumcision?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's fucking hilarious.
I will also say that
that's a sexual mutilation of kids. If that's what you're upset about, most of these people are Christians and have mutilated their kids with circumcision, and it's so frustrating.
Yep, yeah. I've made that point many times.
I will say that,
they didn't even have a choice, and at least most of the teenagers who try to transition, most of the teenagers, they at least have some agency. A baby has none.
Yeah, and it's probably also problematic that some of them, they will ally with extremist sect or feminists for this, the TERFs, who are very misandric.
Lizard.
Can I say something, y'all?
Go.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to say I've seen discrimination on both male to female and female to male transitions, and I don't think that it's necessarily limited, the discrimination that each side gets or whatever. I will say that there are a lot of there's a lot of normie culture fetishizing trans people though, but not necessarily accepting them. Also, there's a lot of tokenizing of trans people going on, especially in right-wing circles.
Yeah.
Because they'll come off as reasonable and be like, "Oh, you're a genetic deficiency and you shouldn't be having children, but you understand that, so you're the reasonable one." Fuck. And then they'll pass you around like they're fucking puppet or something.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Blair White.
And tankies will do it too. Yeah, Blair White's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
He's a fucking shining example of a right-wing trans
No.
shill.
Bryce, real
I do
quick.
have one thing.
Real quick before Bryce, hello from the convention floor.
Oh. Yeah.
Dennis, and then Bryce. We're talking about the paleo strategy. Shit on Rothbard with us.
Shit on Roth. Paleo strategy's fucking started.
Yes.
Abandoned it.
Dennis.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the only thing I had to say about the possible issues with the gender thing is that there are a lot of trans women who didn't grow up as women, and I think that they can sometimes take away from the real problems that women encounter in society in a male-dominated society, a patriarchy that we're kind of trying to get out of. So there's a little bit of pushback from the women who are like, you didn't have to go through some of the stuff we had to go through. Quit trying to take that from us, as it were. They kind of feel upset about that, and I kind of get that. But I think there has to be some kind of work in there we have to do to make that work, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's at least go, admit that part of it to say, hey, not everybody has the same experiences growing up, and we have to accept that some people might have worse experiences and just move on from it.
It would be
But there is
intersectionality.
that sort
That's
of
the term.
resentment.
Like, we need to get intersectionality. The thing that started all of this off was a sort of general, like, understanding that fucking Rothbard's position on, like, basically poor people, he called them the people who actually rule society, that we are like plagued by underclass rule. And he also said that that like we need to abolish racial privileges. And the context by which he said that in this plank of his right-wing populist guide was, he said that that the entire civil rights structure, in quotes, tramples on the property rights of every American. So what he was doing there, and like I sort of wrung this back around, it is the same thing that people like Rechtenwald do with trans people, or the wokes. And it's like you just recode everything that they're doing to be like an assault on like other sorts of rights. And then you dismiss their rights entirely, saying, you have the same rights we do. And yes, they do. But the question is whether or not those rights are being attacked because they are who they are, in which case delineating it makes fucking sense. So, like, for instance, black rights were being trampled at certain points, so they fucking fought for black rights. And now trans rights are being trampled in many ways, and they're fighting for trans rights. That was what I said in that regard, that, like, it's a similar thing. It's, like, echoing now, like, the treatment of certain... So, I'll get your take on that, Bryce.
You mean with the whole fucking... the attacking the woke shit and all that crap? I mean... What they should be hyper-focusing on, if they're really going to go that route, is how liberals kind of hijack that shit to try and make it their own fucking thing. Try and bring people back to the Overton window. And
I also want to point something else out.
Unfortunately, don't fucking do that. Which alienates a lot of people that they could be fucking trying to win over.
Yeah.
It's a bad strategy.
Especially since, like, the government is actively targeting them now. If the Libertarian Party wants momentum, they should not be attacking minorities. They should be winning them over to grow the minority that already is the Libertarian movement from maybe 3 to 3.5%. Because here's the thing, Trump wasn't wrong when he said that. It is like 3 or less percent because the Libertarian Party is fundamentally cucked and not moving. It's insignificant. And so, like... It's not wrong for Trump to say that. The solution, however, is to not do the paleo strategy in the modern day and to actively work with the underclasses that are coming out of that. That's my point. That's what but Mike Rechtenwald didn't do that, and I guess we saw a result of that tonight with the votes not going in his favor, and instead we get the gay man.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. The Mises Caucus was very, very clearly set on Dave Smith being their candidate. For family reasons, he didn't run. That the last-ditch effort, they kind of start trying to prop up Rechtenwald, who is better suited for writing literature and shit. Because he's not really suited to be a fucking candidate. Yeah, his complete lack of the willingness to try and appeal. I think he's slowly, as his candidacy had progressed, gotten better about that shit. As people got in his ear and like, hey, what you're doing is fucking stupid. But by then, it's too little, too fucking late.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Can you
Bryce,
answer a
like,
question I
when you
had?
say it's kind of like whenever you have those WWF wrestlers back in the day, they would be really, really good in the ring, but they were bland as, whatever on the mic, like any jobber wrestler from WWF back in the 80s and 90s. Like, some people say Bret Hart was that, but I don't believe that. But it's kind of like he's that in a sense. He's very good academic libertarian, I guess, quote unquote, but he's not like good as a political libertarian at all.
Hello, Rose. We got Rose.
So I do have one question about. Hi.
You
So,
cannot hear that.
I really want to understand
If
the
you
thought
don't
process.
care about earwax.
I want to understand the thought process behind the no votes
Behind the what? Sorry.
on that last vote. The no votes. So these were 300 people who were okay with a candidate. They just were not okay with this candidate and were willing to have no candidate as opposed to having Chase. I want to understand why.
That is marginally inaccurate. There is a candidate in my state affiliate, actually, that nominated NOTA and went up and did a NOTA speech. And it started off with, they had like 11 people who voted NOTA. And those people kind of just consistently stayed there. As people's candidates dropped, yes, some of them went NOTA, others went and started doing really dumb write-ins.
Right.
What happened?
But it was less than.
What
it
happened
was 50.
specifically? What happened specifically with that last set of votes was, so Chase Oliver and Rechtenwald both already had VP candidates picked out. However, Michael Heiss started trying to get Termont on board with being Rechtenwald's VP, and apparently Chase Oliver did as well. And Mike Termont agreed to be Rechtenwald's VP. However, he must have also apparently agreed to be Chase Oliver's VP because he went up and the Mises Caucus was expecting him to endorse Rechtenwald. He turns around and endorses Oliver. So them being pissed at Termont, a lot of them went NOTA.
Yeah, and
So, I mean, just because they were mad, they were willing to have no candidate. I just want to understand that. They understood what they were doing, right?
They feel that Chase Oliver is a net negative to the liberty movement, so they would rather have no candidate than
Why?
his candidate.
Yeah, that's just needlessly vindictive. Like, Chase was probably my second or third pick, but it's not the end of the world. I think he's perfectly fine. He's a perfectly fine communicator. Like, I don't have anything wrong. I don't have any particular objections to him.
Yeah, and like,
but it wasn't a directive from Michael just to have him vote NOTA. I just want to make sure that wasn't the case.
Michael Heiss suggested it. Yes.
He's like,
Okay.
he lied to us. He was freaked out about.
He was
Termont.
mad for trusting a cop with a political background.
Right, but the thing is that his tantrum could have cost the party a candidate for the year for
It
this
could have,
election.
and it was a very stupid and short-sighted move.
yeah,
I assume you've already talked about like everything else that went on this weekend, or we're gonna.
No, we haven't talked at all about it. This was just something that came up during
yeah,
our discussion.
yeah.
We're still
Yeah,
talking
we're
about.
gonna have to do a recap, I think.
So
Yeah,
so
I think we had talked about
Hey,
doing one soon.
how does Wednesday work for everyone here?
Depends on the time.
yeah,
Wednesday's a little tough for me, but
I am
Tuesday or
fairly-
Thursday would be
I am
better for me.
Yeah, Wednesday, unless it is around noon
Okay.
or around 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, because I'm free Wednesday night, but I mean I'll be back to work Probably Tuesday.
So how about Wednesday?
I have to do a cutover like at 11 on Wednesday, so I could do first part if we do early.
How about Wednesday 9 p.m. Eastern? Does that work for people?
That works for me.
I could be there for about an hour and a half.
Cool.
I would be there for about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. So you would have to cut off after a certain point. Okay, so let's.
Yes.
So how about then 8 p.m. Eastern?
That works for me.
That'd be better for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that should work.
All right, cool. So the reason I'm saying that is because I literally want to do a stream that I'm going to title LNC Postmortem. So we can just go over all the shit and like all the stuff that went wrong, all the stuff that went right, and as many people as are interested in getting in on that call, who are at the LNC or who have like things to say about the LNC, it'll be LNC Postmortem.
Okay, that works.
What do you think?
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Cool. Yeah, like she's like, why are you using medical terminology? I don't want to go to work. Yeah.
How's LNC, everybody?
It's been a nice little vacation.
It's been a fucking shit show, but it's been nice to get away.
I heard Trump got food.
Yeah, I'm just here for the circus, and it has delivered. It's what I expected, and it really has delivered.
So did
Did
Trump really get booed to shit?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You can see there's live stream video of it. So there's a guy named Ford Fisher, who streamed it. He streamed the whole thing pre and then the Trump, and then he stayed afterwards and got Traumat and Oliver and Rechtenwald giving speeches. Rechtenwald had taken a gummy, and you can see his reactions on that video.
So,
but you can see also Oliver and Mike really just both tag teaming and being great in that video.
So let me just
it's a good one to watch.
Let me just put, because we're about to probably call it for today purposes, unless Kareem wants to take us around and fucking like get faces on the stream, but like basically we'll be doing hella good postmortem. I have so much to say, but like basically the shit that I wanna say. Hello, Kareem. Is like a wet blanket on this situation because I have to be a cunt. Like if I'm not a cunt at least a little bit about this, it's not going to sound like me. I think that the booing of Trump amounts to 2 minutes hate from 1984. I can't see it any other way. It sounds exactly like 2 minutes hate. I don't fucking give a shit. It sounds like 2 minutes hate. And so the fact that they're booing him...
Okay. Yeah, but he was not invited by us. That was a unilateral decision, and we were not going to let him treat it as a campaign stop without some pushback.
No. Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying
by
that.
The way, Jeremiah, unrelated to what we're talking about right now, Toad shouted you out in his nomination speech for LNC president.
Ah, okay. I didn't watch that, so.
You should watch it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, so
the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is not to say don't boo Trump. All I'm saying is what Angela the bitch liar promised when she promised Trump being there is that it would be a panel discussion where libertarians fired points at him, and where like libertarians got to actively grill him on key issues. That didn't happen. It was a campaign speech, just like so many of us fucking predicted, because they couldn't get Trump to agree to anything approaching a debate. And that to me is why I think it's more like 2 minutes hate than anything constructive. It could have been something awesome. It could have been where Trump was proven to be a bitch-ass piece of fucking tyrannical shit, and instead all we got was boo! Good, you made noises at him. I mean, that's better than nothing, I guess. That's better than applause.
But also understand.
That was all we could do. Like, he would not agree to a discussion. Right. I know. I had to explain this to a ton of fellow libertarians that he's not going to let you grill him. He's not going to let you question him. They all were very delusional about the whole thing. And
are you telling me that a known bully is going to bully a small and largely marginalized political movement with their shitty electoral results? No.
He tried to.
But
and he
don't
actually
forget,
got
though, we
booed
did have-
even louder for that. He
Yeah.
didn't know what the fuck to
We
do.
did-
Right, that was my point exactly. Was
that's
I was
when he got
pointing out that he was
snarky,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, you guys get 3%," and I'm like, "Well, one, we are a small party in a pass the post system, which lends itself to these two coalitions racing against each other to get first past the post. And secondly, the dude is a known. He literally makes his entire thing about bullying people. Like that's like a solid
And what's
third
funny-
of his. Yep.
And what's funny about that is the number of people who we have. We had Tom Woods, Dave Smith,
Hey,
Karen Ann
Jeremy, I got a
Harlow,
question.
and someone else who came out and said we need to be respectful to Trump when he comes to talk to us and not be rude.
Yeah,
to him.
that bitch. Holy
That's what he
shit.
said
Yeah,
before
Jeremy,
the
I have
speech.
one
Okay,
question
real
for you,
quick,
sir.
just to
Do you
respond to
hang
that.
out at Tom Wood's house?
No, I'm nowhere near that.
Does
But-
anybody remember that stupid fucking music video
Yeah.
that Jack Lloyd and the Philosopher did?
Very
Tom
cringe.
Wood's house.
But yeah,
Literally every time he whispers Tom Wood's house, I have a nightmare. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
yeah. So
I am the best candidate on gun rights. The NRA loves me.
He seemed actually surprised when people all started yelling "fuck the NRA." Like he seemed actually surprised in a few cases where his normal bullshit wasn't working because he's in a room full of a bunch of autistic.
Yeah, we're not beholden to him as a god king who can say no wrong, right? I mean,
Autistic contrarians is literally the perfect way to describe libertarians.
He knew libertarians liked guns, so he thought bringing up the NRA was a good strategy, and it blew up in his fucking face.
meanwhile, the NRA is the NFA. But yeah, like so. Just to be clear, Dave Smith has been a toady for a while. And I just have to say that because I hate how he said be respectful. After all this time of Dave Smith being disrespectful to whoever the fuck he wanted to be, he's going to tell us that we need to be respectful of Trump after the emo caucus that he worked with was spending so much time being disrespectful after wreck the regime. Now we have to be respectful to the regime. Come on.
that's all right. Chris Spangle called him out on it, and him and Dave got into a tiff about it. So it's a fun time.
Yeah.
We're having fun with it. But,
Anyway, I'll give people a chance to fire back,
rumor.
though. Like, I did see some discord in that.
All right, I'm gonna head off in a bit because it's getting late and I gotta get.
Yeah.
Before I go, I dropped the full video that is Tom Wood's house.
Yeah.
In the chat, if anybody wants to take a look.
Yeah, we're aware.
Okay, cool.
They've kind of distanced themselves to a degree.
But before I go, a question: is anybody hanging out at Tom Wood's house this weekend?
No.
All right.
There is a rumor. There's a rumor out there. I saw one person say it. I have not found any backup for it. So this is way rumory, and I don't know if I believe it or not. But they did say that Dave Smith had said he was leaving the party over what happened this weekend.
Would not be surprised.
Like I said, I don't
Right.
put a lot of
I'm
weight
out.
in that one, and I
Y'all
haven't
have a
found
good night.
indication.
Be well.
Who said he's leaving?
There was just some comment in some thread that I saw that said it, but they weren't able to back it up to me, so I
Yeah.
was assuming that it probably wasn't true.
Could be full of shit.
But I did want to see if anybody else had heard about it.
I had not.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the ASIS caucus, but
Yeah.
the LNC itself, no. It's not going
Either way, just to be clear, thank everyone who showed up. We will have a shit ton to say on Wednesday, and everybody can prepare their notes and
It was a
make
lot.
sure that there's because we can go on for a while, and I'll try to give everybody as much speaking time as possible so that everybody can get their takes out there. I want conflicting views. I want this show to be a show where people can disagree and still move forward. That's what I want, as usual, And we'll confuse those people who want, ideological cohesion and fucking, homogeneity. Fuck those people. So, anyway, with that being said, y'all plug your... Bryce and Rose can plug their stuff. Dennis can plug his stuff, and then we'll call it for the night.
At the immediate moment, I don't really have anything to plug, I guess.
Same. I don't have to beg for donations anymore.
Yeah.
Or it's a little late for that.
If you live in
Glad you got there.
Wisconsin, check out lpwi.org. Otherwise, I got nothing.
All right. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
All right. Peace.
And on my end, Reinhold.org, at Reinhold on Twitter, and then there's We Are Libertarians, Low-Key Wall, and Politinerd podcast I'm on. So.
Awesome. All right, well, be well all, and see you on Wednesday to smash the fucking state.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Kareem.
I will.
Closing. So closing statements and plug your stuff.
I'm an ANCAP man in ANCAP, Stan. You can find me at Kareem6633 on Twitter, Anarch Unity, and I'm at the LP convention. Let's go chase Oliver.
Yeah. All right. Be well all. Smash the fucking state.
I'm an ANCAP